So this morning, I want to say a few words about sacraments, actually. So in my Episcopal upbringing, I learned this phrase: a sacrament is an outward and visible sign of an inward, invisible grace. That basically sacraments are the tangible embodiment of an invisible reality that we proclaim. And in Christian communities and people of faith, it's an invisible reality that we proclaim about God. And in the United Church of Christ, we have two sacraments. We have communion and baptism. And in those, we proclaim or enact or embody some pretty big claims about God. Some of those are: God is present in all things. God is constantly seeking us. God desires to bring all creation and all creatures into wholeness and health. God is always doing a new thing. In any moment, at every moment, no matter how bleak, the possibility of resurrection, of recreation is possible. That we always belong to God. Those are some of the claims, huge claims, that we make when we break the bread and say we are part of the body of Christ always. When we put water on the forehead of a child or an adult and say, you are sealed as one of Christ's beloved, God's beloved children, one of Christ's own forever. That's what we do when we do the sacraments. And thank God we have the sacraments, because those are pretty big claims, hard to remember, hard to carry around in our day-to-day experience. And so the early church, fathers and mothers, created these sacraments as a way for us to practice, to remind ourselves, to live into these huge claims that are sometimes hard to see in our daily life. But before we came up with these sacraments, before those were derived, the earliest church, fathers and mothers, kind of before there was even a church, talked about Christ, or Jesus, as the embodied sacrament of God in the world. We can look to Jesus and see how God is in the world, something we can touch and feel and watch and model after. And also, the church, the collective community, is considered sacramental as a way of embodying those realities about God. Because the problem is, if we just think that the way we see God is in these sacraments, we miss the point, which is that God permeates life all the time. That God is present and wanting us to be in God's presence with that healing and wholeness in every moment. And there's that possibility always for us. But it's easy to forget or to not know, which is what I think this story is about, that feels so wonderfully told. And we don't really know anything about these people. Maybe they were men carrying their friend. Maybe they weren't. The story says that the paralytic was a man, so let's go with that. We don't know if it was a child or if it was an adult, but we can get to imagine. So I imagine that maybe this person has been unable to walk for a long time, maybe their whole life. Maybe this person has to beg for food, or is ostracized from the community in some way. Maybe this person has tried to go to one of the many healers or miracle workers that were around at the time. Maybe this person has given up hope that anything would ever be different. And so his friends come to him and say, hey, there's this guy, this Jesus. Have you heard about him? He's healing people. He's talking about God and wholeness. Let's go. And who knows, maybe their paralytic, the friend who's paralyzed says, who knows what he says? Maybe he says, sure, let's give it a try. Maybe he says, it's not going to make a difference. Maybe he says, do what you want. But the friends believed. In the story, it says they had faith. So they figured out a way to pick up their friend and carry him with some degree of challenge to Jesus. Now, they didn't know what the outcome would be. They didn't know what would happen. Especially when they got there and they saw the house surrounded by crowds and they had to climb up the roof and lower him down. They didn't know what would be the outcome, but they knew that there was something beyond this moment of pain for their friend. Something beyond this this paralysis, both physical and spiritual. Something. They knew that if they could just help their friend, just accompany their friend to God, to Jesus, something would happen. For me, if you continue to read the story, what does happen, at least according to the Gospel of Mark, is that Jesus sees the faith of the friends, and he heals the man. For me, I wonder if the sacramental encounter happened before they even got to Jesus. I wonder if the healing presence of God happened when those friends were so committed to show up and to accompany their friend, to close the gap between where that person felt like they were and the source of healing, that healing began to happen. I wonder for you if there's been times in your life when you have, maybe you have at some point believed that there was a God who loved you and cared about you, but in this moment, that seemed impossible to get to. There was a gap between you and that source of healing and wholeness and peace and serenity. I wonder if there was someone or someones who helped carry you across that gap. Or I wonder if there was a time that you were a person that helped accompany someone else through that time. I invite you to turn to the person next to you and say what comes to mind. Just take a few minutes. I'll call you back. It's always a dangerous thing to invite you all to begin to talk in the middle of a service. We all need help. We all need help on that journey. We all need to, and we get the privilege to be that tangible presence of God with and for each other. That this is what a sacramental faith is about. That God shows up in physical form, in the bread and the juice and the water and in our bodies when we care for and accompany each other. Today we have the privilege of hearing from Leonard Ash, who's going to talk for a minute about his journey as a befriender. He's going to say a little bit about what the BeFrienders Ministry is. And so I invite Leonard.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the BeFrienders Ministry this morning. And it's something that the church started a little over a year ago. And the whole purpose behind BeFrienders Ministry is to be a listening presence for each other. So there was a group of people who went through some training, and most of the training was to help us learn how to be good listeners, how to be quiet, how to ask questions, and to be non-judgmental in our interactions with the people that we befriend. And one of the other principles with befrienders is the idea that God is present in these listening moments. And so befrienders get matched up with people from the community who are going through times in their lives where they really need someone to be with them for an hour a week, for some period of time until they get through that or until they feel better about where they are. And so that's exactly what we do. We create that special space to be with each other, to be a listening presence, to really focus on nothing else but being present for you, with the trust that in that sacred space, God is there. And for me, in the past year, it's been a real blessing to be able to be in that ministry, to meet people where they are in their lives, and just to give the gift of listening, and for them to experience that gift of having someone present for them without any other agenda than to be there for what they need. In this story, it's it's really powerful that the friends meet the paralytic person where he is. He can't walk and they accept that. And they do what they can to meet that person where he is. And I think with BeFrienders, it's the same way. It could be something very big in your life, like the loss of a sibling or the slow decline of an elderly relative. It could be something joyful, like the arrival of a new member in the family, or the stresses of life, like a new job or getting a new manager at work. So it can be any of these things. And the nice part about this ministry is that if you decide that you'd like to participate in this, keep in mind that it's not only a gift for you that the church has this ministry, but it's a gift to us as well, to be able to create that relationship and to be there for you. It's something that's very special. So if you, in the times that come up, if you feel like you might want to have a befriender, or if you think that you'd like to become a befriender minister, I'd encourage you to talk to someone like Pastor Rachel, or to Janet, or anyone in the Befriender Ministry team to ask about how to get started. But I know for me, for this past year, it's been a true gift to have that ministry and to be in that sacred space together with people from our congregation. Thank you.